what would you say were some of the contributing factors that allowed you to successfully navigate the process?
So I'd say, through our process, and so in the, transparency, we use some science to help us out. It was the mental, emotional aspects that were first and foremost by far, man. Just like how many people in a normal situation who are not very, very sick have 6 shots in a day, you know what I mean? And then have to do that repeatedly, right? Like, so the number one thing is to just make sure that you have support around you. It's not baby magic, right? It's not Gandalf the Grey being able to wave his wand and boop. We've been on this path for a while. It gets challenging. We experienced loss. And so our friendship, our relationship, and the folks that we had around us, to shepherd us through to get to this point. It hasn't made us forget about how we got there. It just made us more appreciative.
The Black Futurist.
That's one small step for man.
Okay.
Sometimes your people do crazy shit. Sometimes they just like take off. Thelma and Louise, you know what? I want to do it on some like Lewis and Clark level expedition. I'm just going to walk around the world. You'd be like, damn, I applaud your courage. I'm damn near 50. Most of my friends damn near 50. Not to be excluded. My podcast co-host, Dr. Maurice Ellis Dolberry.
Wow.
Damn near 50. And why am I saying all this? Because my main man, Dr. Maurice Ellis Dolberry, is a father for the first time at 49, damn near 50 years old, of not one, but 4 children at once. This fool had twins and has 2 dogs. So I just want to say, what's up, my brother? You get all the things. What's up, bro?
Look, man.
Set it
Set
straight.
the record straight. Yes, I'm damn near 50. Yeah, we do crazy things at our age. I've mentioned it on the podcast, I think in passing, but yeah, man, December 15th, 2023 became the father of twins. And man, I haven't slept since. And so now, of course, it's time to
The date of
time
this
to
recording.
podcast. Man is adding hyphens to my name. There are no hyphens in my name. There are no hyphens in my children's name. Shout out to everybody who has a hyphenated name. But no, we don't have any folks who are hyphenated in my family. That's a running joke between me and the podcast co-host. So yeah, crazy factor is way up. And I'll let you ask the question because I don't even know where to start. I mean, you all who've been dads, you've been through this. So as of this podcast, they are 1 month old and I think 2 days now. In fact, so today was the day that we came home from the hospital with them. And they were like, all right, old people, here, you can go raise your own grandchildren. Good luck. We think you're okay. And, we took the babies home like, all right. Now what?
All right, so let's start with this part. Like, how free are you able to talk? Because at your house, you have a lot of people or beings, if you include the dogs, and you haven't had much sleep, and it's the middle of the day. Can you actually talk? Can I ask you real questions?
Yeah, absolutely. I got a little podcasting space, but if there's any other time to be 100% honest with yourself and your people, this is the time. And so to your point, before you start asking me questions and go mess my stuff up, it has been fantastic having my parents here. My dad just left not too long ago, but yeah, mom is sticking around through wrestling season. Been an infinite blessing, man. Just fantastic to have other people. And it's not just like, hey, the baby is crying. It's like, hey, you spilled that little sip of coffee over there on the sofa, and then the baby started crying, and then the other one needed changing, and then you had to change the other baby again, because then they went from crying to pooping on themselves, and then you got to make a bottle for the one because now they're hung. Like, oh yeah, and that stain over there on the sofa, or man, we got to take the trash out at some point,
Right.
like so. From changing, putting love on their grandkids to regular stuff around the house has been fantastic having my parents here.
That's really good. Let's go to the beginning. What does the term geriatric mean regarding pregnancy?
It is a term that is no longer in use. And it used to be, up until maybe 5 to 10 years ago, it was the term for any woman, I believe the age was over 35. So if the maternal age was over 35, it was referred to as a geriatric pregnancy. And so that term is passe at this point. Now it's considered a bit offensive because it's like saying, well, here's this elderly woman having a baby. And so now we say advanced maternal age.
Shout out to Tamron Hall and Brigitte Nielsen, who pioneered in the known person space that you can knock it out at 50. But your lady's not 50. How old is she?
44 when they were born. So, yeah.
Talk about how that idea, the pregnancy formerly known as geriatric, whatever that symbol looks like when Prince did it, what did that look like challenge-wise?
For us, and there are different ways that advanced maternal age can affect a pregnancy. And so one of the great things that I will say about it in terms of those of us who have the privilege of being insured and fully insured, they are automatically termed high risk pregnancies as well. I'm sure the insurance company is not bothered by the fact that it multiplies the number and frequency of procedures, preventative measures, and observations that they do of the mom and the babies while they're in the womb, because they just make more money on it. But that is one of the factors of being, in an advanced maternal age. It does mean that you do have a multitude of appointments. Now double all that because we've got twins. And so for example, ultrasound appointments were, weekly there at the end. They're twice as long. We're looking at both babies, checking mom's health. And so really what it meant for us in terms of care, it meant that we had a consistent and constant care team that was eminently aware that this pregnancy by definition is high risk. And shout out to Veronica for, just being an extremely healthy woman. She had no complications due to her own health or issues and was able to, and listen, I ain't gonna say nobody that carried twins had, and I will not use this word. Don't let nobody paraphrase me and say she had an easy pregnancy. By no stretch of the imagination. She had what was largely an uneventful pregnancy when it came to things to be worried about, while acknowledging and understanding that it was a high risk pregnancy.
Right. So you guys have successfully navigated the process.
Yes.
What would you say were some of the contributing factors that allowed you to successfully navigate the process?
So I'd say, through our process, and so in the, transparency, we use some science to help us out. And I would say that the number one thing is to just make sure that you have support around you. It's not baby magic, right? It's not Gandalf the Grey being able to wave his wand and boop. We've been on this path for a while. It gets challenging. We experienced loss. And so our friendship, our relationship, and the folks that we had around us, to shepherd us through to get to this point, which is 100%. If there was such thing as 110%, I would say it's 110% worth it. Just this past month has been fantastic. It hasn't made us forget about how we got there. It just made us more appreciative of the fact that we have. But what were the specific physical things? It was the mental, emotional aspects that were first and foremost by far, man. Just like, how many people in a normal situation who are not very, very sick have 6 shots in a day? You know what I mean? And then have to do that repeatedly, right? Like, so when it comes to those types of things, it's the support. And then there's the other part of it. It's thinking about, like, yeah, we old as hell. So we're trying to eat healthy. We're going to get some exercise when we can. So she would hop on the exercise bike. She would do little YouTube classes, do some stretching and yoga stuff. So we were both very conscious of it. I'm happy. I put on 10 pounds of pregnancy weight, which I immediately dropped
The sympathetic
afterward.
weight.
Yep, put that sympathy weight on, just 10 though, and dropped them immediately. We back down, to our fighting weight. So, but yeah, like I said, just to reiterate and probably belabor the point, it was definitely the mental and the emotional support that we had with each other, friends and family, that made it doable.
Right. So for people who may be considering going the route that you went, talk about and you being a scientist and an educator, talk about some of the science that you employed. What is the modern state of things? What's possible? And what was that experience like? And what did you learn along the way?
Man, it's fascinating. And I can say, as someone who has a degree in biology from Howard University and who taught science and then taught science teachers how to teach science, and have even taught anatomy and sex ed before, I can tell you that it was a huge learning process in terms of just learning what it takes to conceive a child, and the process of going from conception to baby. And, so surrounding ourselves, and it was strategic, right? Like, so I'm circling back, and we had Dr. Brad Wilson on here, right? And talking
Shout out to Brad.
Absolutely, man. Talking to him as someone who studies those things and works in fertility. And so it was calling in that village. That was a part of that, in the previous question too, the emotional. And then there you had the scientific support, right? To explain how things happen, why things are happening, what are the difficulties. You're going to have two primary challenges when you're talking about advanced maternal age. And that is this notion: women are born with all of their eggs. And so the menstrual cycle is the preparation for the release of an egg so that it can be fertilized, as our basic understanding of that happens, right? But understanding exactly when and how and why and windows of fertility, all of those pieces added in helps you to understand that advanced maternal age when you have, one, a reduced number of eggs overall, and two, eggs that have been there for as long. So if a woman is 38, then her eggs in theory are 38 years old, so to speak.
Right.
And so because those eggs are old, they start to deteriorate. And so you have a reduction in the amount of eggs, and you have a reduction in the viability of those eggs in order to bring a pregnancy to term. And a woman's body does exactly what it is supposed to do when one of those eggs is fertilized that is not going to bring a child to term. It will be spontaneously aborted, which, as we call a miscarriage. But that spontaneous abortion happens because the body is making sure that it does not produce an unhealthy baby.
Right.
And so that happens with more frequency when you have a reduced number of eggs, as well as eggs that are old and lower quality. And then I'd say the second, so that's egg quality and amount, if you put it together, the egg, and then the stuff that is going to carry the egg, right? So what does the maternal womb look like in terms of its capacity at an advanced maternal age to carry a baby to term? And so you put those two factors together and you get increased risk to both the mother and the child or children.
Right. When you were on the way to making the decision to employ the science, what advantages did you learn the science could give you?
I mean, it's so the way that it's done now, right? Like this is what happens when I get overwhelmed, man, because it was overwhelming to find out basically like all of the X-Men, like gene shit that we learned about in the comic books and how they created Wolverine and X-23, bro, all that shit is like possible, man. It made me think so much of how you can like create designer babies, right? Like from being able to take a genome, right? And we've mapped the human genome decades ago at this point now. So we know where genes are, what they code for. The possibility exists for a couple of people to design a baby pillar to post the way that they would want to look, and the genetic dispositions they would have. And it's fascinating and scary at the same time, learning what they will and won't do. Like, so they don't do gene manipulation, but what they do, which we were very, very thankful for, is they do this really significant testing genetically, and they run once you can finally get embryos that you can implant, they run a significant number of tests on them to make sure that these are babies who are not going to be born, not only that they can be carried to term, but they're also going to screen for things like trisomy 21, which we know is like Down syndrome. It will screen for cystic fibrosis. So even diseases that can just be debilitating, that can challenge. And so it was interesting as parents to say, we know that we can have kids that are not going to have special needs in terms of congenital things that have happened to them. So like, no, we're not going to give birth to a child with cerebral palsy, because those types of risks, again, go up with advanced maternal age and all that kind of stuff. And so it gave peace of mind, right? And at the same time, I felt this ambivalence because, man, folks who have special needs and folks who are in my life, who I work with, teach with, and everything else, man, are fantastic folks. And we purposefully chose,
can be.
What do you mean?
They can be fantastic folks. They can also be assholes.
So I'm saying,
let's not like give the whole category like, because you're differently able, you're fantastic. No,
right.
No,
right. Hey man, like, every person who has, as we used to say, spectrum, autism, however we call it, they have said this is allegedly true about your boy Elon Musk, and apparently he's an asshole. So yeah, you might be. So yeah. For the people I have in my life, man, but I appreciate breaking that up. It's, it made me think like, man, am I discriminating somehow, right? Does this belie, right? Like, if this is like, the parents, let's say if you were white parents and you found out your kids is going to be a little bit darker skinned, or they weren't going to be blonde, you were like, do I really want? And so it's not the same thing, right? But it did make me think about, those types of things. Like, yes, we are eliminating those possibilities. And then at the same time, I said, okay, well, we're advanced maternal and paternal age. The challenges of having a child who have those types of special needs can be very high. We're first-time parents, and if we can avoid it, we will. And still just remaining ambivalent about having made that decision, with the science having given us the benefit to be able to do so, right?
Yep. It's like the invention of fire. Sure, I could still eat my food raw, but there's fire right there. And I'm not discriminating against raw foods, but if I could cook it, like, maybe there's some advantages that I should consider. So I guess, and the fact that you have your science background allows you to at least make informed decisions. You can always say, yeah, I'm going to go with it, doc, or not, which is great. Also, I know that there are multiple types of twins, and you had a certain type of twin. Talk about what they are.
Yeah, so we had a boy and a girl. We had fraternal twins. And so there are different things that can happen. You can choose how many that you want to implant. There is a much, much greater incidence of twins happening if you implant one. So there are different ways that twins can happen. From one egg can split. And in that case, from that one egg, you will get identical twins. And it's so interesting, right? When you do fertility, you may implant one egg and you can get your identical twins. You can implant 2 eggs and still get identical twins, or one birth because there's no guarantee after you implant those eggs whether or not both of them are going to actually be carried to term. And because there is a higher incidence of twinning, one of them can actually split while the other one is not carried to term. So you might implant two and end up with identical twins and find out later on one didn't make it. So there are a lot of different possibilities that can happen. And I learned a lot about it being a parent there. So
there's another part though about amniotic sacs.
Sure. So you can have either monozygous or dizygous twins, right? So monozygous are twins that come from mono, meaning one, twins that come from one egg splitting. Dizygous means that there are two embryos that develop separately. Then there's monoamniotic and diamniotic. Monoamniotic means there's one amniotic sac. So whether you have 1, 2, 3, 4, or 5, however, if it's mono, that means they're all in one. And then if you have diamniotic, then you've got di. You can have tri if you've got triplets, right? That would be fraternal triplets. So there's a lot of different designations for the embryos when they're in the womb.
And you guys had diamniotic twins, correct?
We had what are called di twins, correct? Dizygotic, diamniotic.
Okay, got it. Jumping forward, you got the kids to the house. But before you even got the kids to the house, you started to do some research. You called friends. You checked with people who had recently had twins. And you started to develop your gadget set. What do they call it on video games? Where you go to the crate, your loadout kit? You got your loadout, right. So I want you to talk about what is the modern state of tech for new parents. I wrote a couple categories. One, let's start with the baby monitor. What's possible today?
What is pretty normal is for everything to be Bluetooth or wireless somehow, and largely app-based as well. So if you're going to go more expensive, then you'll have a certain app, and then you can have different baby monitor cameras attached to that app. The least expensive, and well, not the least, the least expensive is, hey, go in the room and check on the baby. The minimal right now that you have that we actually use, we've got a camera, and then it has its own dedicated Bluetooth, and looks like, the same size as your smartphone. And so it just is connected to that camera. You can carry it. It can reach anywhere in the house with no problem, and it gives you a color picture, and you can actually move the camera around and see, the environment that the babies are in. And so that's what we have. We've got a couple of those, but yeah, everything is electronic. The monitoring. So we've got old school and we got new school. We've got the mirrors that you put against the back headrest that face the babies, so that, when we've got them in the car seat, you can actually see their faces. And then we've also got another camera system that, it just has some Velcro. You hook it on the top of the seat, and then you point it, and now you can see, it's pretty wide. So, you can put it on one headrest and see both babies and see their faces while they're in the car seat.
Where are you seeing it? Are you seeing it on your phone, or is it like a device, a receiver in the car?
So you have to get a little Uber driver joint, so it's got its own monitor that I stuck onto my dashboard.
Right.
So, and in that case, you've got a camera. Now that camera is not movable. But as I'm driving, I just look, and see what's going on with them. So everything is electric and electronic. And a lot of it is app-based. We have a system that we use that was suggested to us by a family friend who is herself a doctor and has young boys. Her boys are both under the age of 5, I believe. So is very recently, went through this and gave us a tracker, a baby monitor that we use, and it's an app, and it tracks everything from diaper changes to when you last fed them, how much you can put, whether it was the left or the right breast that they suckled from.
What's the name of the app? Go ahead, give them the shine. What is the name of it?
It's called Sprout.
Okay.
And it's a baby app. And hey, look, we use it. It's kind of technical, and it speaks to that. It speaks to my engineering, hard science side, right, that I still have. And it tracks their mood, it tracks their activities, whatever you want to put in it, you can track it, and you can track it to the moment. So we use that, we share that amongst our family members. So, mom grabs one of the twins, goes to feed her, I see, boop, pops up. Oh, being fed right now by Glamour. All right, cool. We good.
Wow. So that's incredible. And it sounds like we're manually putting things in. Is the output some type of graph or trend? Or what are we looking at? What's the output?
However you want to set it up. So you can look at it as a list of activities. You can put it on a bar graph. You can put it on a discontinuous graph to show trends over time. It does all of the above.
Cool. Okay.
Yeah.
What other apps, if any, are you using and why?
That so far, and because we're at a point now where they can't move, so you put them down, that's where they are, right? Healthy or not, you put
Unless
them down.
the dogs get involved, yeah.
That's right. You sit them on the floor, that's where they are. The dog's gonna lick half their skin off, but that's where they are. Right. So, so we don't have anything that I think about like tracking technology. Like, would I put a little bracelet on both of them and track them? Hell yeah. Shout out to all my 1990s and 80s Howard cats. No, I'm not going to get the microchip put in their wrist with the barcode on it. But yeah, like, putting a little, they have a little bracelet or something on them that, that has a tracker once they're able to move. Yeah, absolutely. Without question, we'll think about those types of things. But as of right now, because of how limited they are in their interactions, the things that we have now are fantastic. We can use a camera that can be damn near stationary because they are,
right. Yeah. And it is a definite change in the household when they're no longer stationary. Even if they're just crawling, it's like, oh man, everything just changed. So there's this line in Ocean's 12 where they bring in Julia Roberts to help out with the heist. And it's Julia Roberts playing Danny Ocean's wife, playing Julia Roberts. So it's the actress playing a character playing herself, and they make her pregnant, and they're trying to fool everybody so they can go in and do this heist thing, and they're about to get caught up, and then the doctor comes in and says, would you put that cell phone away? You might as well be pointing a loaded gun at the fetus. So I say all that to say, what, if any, concerns should we have about all the radio waves and all the cellular and all that stuff we're using around these brand new babies?
I don't know is my number one response. I actually don't know. And it is not something that I have researched significantly. I think I tend to be trusting of technology. And that is to my benefit and detriment, admittedly. I don't trust technology to the point where I think I, entrust technology with my safety completely. But yeah, I'm under the assumption that the cellular and Bluetooth that is around the babies is not going to have an adverse effect. I know that when it comes to products that are given to babies and are used on and around babies, that the standards are way more stringent. But ultimately, no, we don't exactly know. This is a bit of a different generation. I guess we're probably about 5 years to 10 years into this generation of babies that, are inundated and bombarded in that way, with the point the cell phone at the, at your belly, and the baby now has, like gamma ray powers.
Right.
Yeah. So we'll see. We'll see. We're going to willingly use the things that we're comfortable using, until and unless we learn that, there's an issue with it. And hopefully that's not too late.
Right. What's the modern state of baby bottles? How are they different than what you drank from?
Oh, dude, like it's a different planet from when we were born, because despite my jokes about you being way older than me, we were born the same year. And the year that we were born, right? Our parents drove us home in the car, and our dad drove and our mom sat there with us like this in the passenger seat. There were no seat belts in the vehicle. There was no such thing as a baby seat. So you talk about like a whole different time, dude. Like
But wait,
our babies.
stick with bottles because I'm coming to that in a minute.
Okay, so I thought we was I was going from the grand down to specific. I'll go back to bottles. And the reason why I started there is because I have absolutely no idea and don't remember like what bottle. I remember bottles probably had like plastic bladders inside of them when we were babies that had the formula in them. I'm sure the polymer that they use for the nipple, like none of the nipples that we use are opaque. All of them are clear. You can see, what's going in the baby's mouth better. So even just that notion, there are, and I don't know if this was true then, there are different apertures. So nipples are labeled P for like preemie or preterm, and then 0, 1, 2, and they get increasingly smaller as the baby gets stronger, suction ability gets stronger, the aperture shrinks. So you talk about like we have all different types of nipples and bottles and and I can only imagine like for us, our parents like took the one bottle we had, swish some water around in that mug, poured it out, then put some more formula back in it, screwed it on, got some of the dirt off of the nipple and handed to us, like yeah, man, it is vastly different, I'm sure.
Got it. Now to your point, the next category is strollers, baby carriers, and swings. What is the modern state? Are we space age yet?
We are space age at this point. We have a double stroller. The double stroller folds out like Optimus Prime, turning from the truck to the robot, click, click, click. And we can take the car seat joint and just take baby whole. Boop, click. They come out the car seat, click up, and now they're in the double stroller. Click,
does that double stroller also allow them to grow? Meaning that once they're bigger than the little baby car seat thing, can they actually just sit in the stroller?
So then once they're too big for the car seat, the actual little chair piece will fold up so that they can sit inside of that. Yeah, man, this thing is definitely made. And I appreciate that as a consumer, making a product that is not designed to be replaced every 2 years, because anything else for a baby is going to be replaced every 2, 3 weeks, 4 weeks, because of how they grow and everything else. And because these types of things are so expensive, shout out to Auntie Deb if she's watching, because they're so expensive, I appreciate the fact that no, we don't have to buy new ones by the time the twins turn 3. They can continue to grow and be in that double stroller.
Yeah. How about swings?
Have not, so we've got the little, you know what? Because I'm thinking of something totally different. It's funny. I think about the swings that I had.
It's like, you mean the swings we used when we made them? No.
Brother. So I remember it was this metal piece, right? It's this white metal. It had this little swing in it that swung back and forth. It was a leather seat, right? It might have had a belt on it. I don't think it did. You crank the side of it. And as you crank the side of it, the swing back. And if you crunk it fast, like my little ass would do messing around with Brian,
I don't know if crunk is a word, but I'll allow
it. Dog. So everything now is electric and electronic. So now the baby swing has buttons on it. And so we put the baby in there. It's got the same sorts of straps as the car seat. Fold them up, put the baby in it. They're strapped in, their heads supported, their little body supported. Looks like a little picture of an elephant or a turtle or a tiger or whatever little cute shit you got on there. You press a button, the swing will start to swing slowly. You press another button, it can speed up.
Does it just go back and forth, or does it vibrate? Does it do the roundabout thing? Can you lay them on their stomach on this one? What is it?
So the ones that we have, they are back only, but you can change. On one of them you can change the direction of the swing. So it can swing them sideways, or if you rotate it 90 degrees, it swings them back and forth.
Right. There you go.
And you press another button, it starts vibrating in order to give the baby a massage. You press another button, it starts playing a lullaby. It's totally different world.
Got it. Nice. We have a Speedfire round. I've got terms, and you have to answer with the first thing that comes to mind based on the Speedfire round. Okay?
Whew, I'm in baby fog right now, so
Good.
maybe more emphasis on the fire than the speed. So,
Good. First one, motility.
none. And then my second thought is thankful. So the babies have no motility. When you go through this fertility process, it is highly invasive. They test your sperm for motility and all that kind of stuff. I was,
Right.
thankful that we had motile sperm.
All right. The initials TTB, signed Robin Harris.
Take that back.
Robin Harris.
Robin Harris. Love it. We got a couple of them, and I'm gonna call them that over time. Your test tube, baby. I'm gonna call them that over time. They will have no idea because Robin Harris is a comic who will have died at least 30 years before they were born. So,
Right. Test two, baby. There's more. Ready? Next one is Martin Lawrence. Baby got her stitches out.
I will respond with a classic line from a Detroit linebacker when he played for the Jets and was asked about the impending so-called doom of playing Tom Brady's New England Patriots. Can't wait.
All right, that's great. Here's the last one. It is a fill in the blank. Family is ...
Invaluable.
There it is.
Completely invaluable, man. I'll leave it at that.
Dr. Maurice Ellis Dolberry in the building. Thank you so much, brother, man. It's been incredible. Yes. Congratulations for almost making it on time for your podcast appointment. We forgive you because you have 4 dependents now, but congratulations.
Thanks. Now I'm going to go back and try to take a nap before the next one starts screaming or needs a change or whatever.
Now, what you really should do for everybody who has made it to the 40-minute mark in this conversation is go get one of the beings and bring them to the cam. I mean, you ain't going to get nobody? Nobody's available? Are they otherwise preoccupied?
All right. Let's see what's happening.
Uh-huh.
Oh, I didn't mean to scare you. All right.
We see. All right, who we got here?
Okay, so this is Araceli with the with her classic. She's got the diva hand up right now. Yeah. So this is her. I'm actually. I ain't really studying you right now, Dad. No face, no case. Hold on, sweetie, get your hand out the way. Right.
Mm-hmm.
So she got the diva hand up, but yeah, and this is the face that they're usually making right now. They're usually asleep, and then the other face looks like Barney on The Simpsons when he burps and his lips flap and his tongue flaps. Yeah, that's the other face that this little munchkin makes. But yeah, man, this is baby B. So she is the younger twin. By 2 minutes.
Awesome.
Yep. So this is little sister.
I love it. Hey, man, congratulations. This is great.
Thanks, man. Appreciate it.